Hi, my name is Sydney Maurer, and I'll be sharing with you the history of Olympic volleyball. My purpose is to inform and entertain the audience with the history of Olympic volleyball and to show how much the sport has spread throughout the world. But specifically, I want to spread the word of volleyball and make people realize how fun the sport really is. People knowing the history of volleyball allows the sport to grow, the knowledge of the history to expand, and makes people realize how fun the sport really is. A lot of people say that volleyball is just a more intense version of Don't Let the Balloon Hit the Floor. This statement is actually very true because that is the basic point of how you play the game. The definition of volleyball is basically 6 versus 6 players with a net in between and a ball, and you can't let the ball hit the ground. Personally, I play for Georgia State Volleyball, and I've been playing for over 10 years, so I can speak highly of the game, and I have high level coaches, so I feel that I can speak very strategically. Then again, my thesis is people knowing the history of Olympic volleyball allows the knowledge to expand and to see how fun the sport really is. First, I will tell you the history of the sport and how it came about. The game was invented in 1895 by William G. Morgan. Morgan was responsible for creating games at the YMCA near Springfield College in Massachusetts, and he was creating these games for local businessmen after a long workday. He was creating these games so that they could have a more organized structure after a long workday. The game was originally called Mintonette. Morgan planned this game to be played with a basketball, but that didn't turn out like such a good idea. So he asked A.G. Spalding and Brothers to create a ball that was more suited for the game, and it ended up to be bound in leather with a 25 to 27 circumference, so this was easier. Morgan asked some of his local friends to help him come up with some rules for the game so that there could be an official statement of how it was played. But while watching, the professor named Alfred T. Halstead requested Morgan to change the name to volleyball since they volleyed the ball across the net, and they all approved and thought it was a very good idea. The explanation of this game was published in the July 1896 version of Physical Education, and the guidelines were included in the 1897 version of the North American YMCA Athletic League, since the YMCA is where volleyball originally was created. Japan was the first to play the game in 1896, and many other Asian countries followed to play the same sport. As we move on from the game of volleyball, I will tell you how it came into the Olympics. Volleyball made its first appearance in the Olympics in 1964. The Soviet Union and Japan ruled from 1964 to 1984, and then Cuba, China, and now it's Brazil. Brazil has stayed dominant for about a decade due to the commitment and recruitment from coaches. So far, in the Olympic standings, the Soviet Union has the most medals out of all the countries in the world. Now I will tell you how the game has changed throughout the years of its existence. You would be surprised how far the game has come. In 1900, the actual volleyball was designed and adopted. In 1916, the YMCA talked the NCAA into publishing the rules of volleyball so that the game could spread to many other college students throughout the world and the country. Also in 1916, the offense was created and invented of the idea of setting and spiking, and it was formed in the Philippines. In 1918, the number of players on the court at one time was limited to 6, and it was originally 16. And this was due to create more participation of many different players, but it had to be reduced to 6. In 1922, the maximum number of contacts became to 3. In 1928, the USVBA was formed. Until the 1930s, volleyball wasn't used for competition, it was more used for fun and for recreation. In the 1930s, it became more serious, and there was an actual competition, like people wanted to win. In 1934, volleyball referees were approved and recognized. In 1947, FIVB was founded in Paris. Now volleyball is one of the 5 biggest international sports in the world. FIVB has 220 affiliated national federations and is considered one of the largest sporting organizations in the world. Today, over 46 million Americans play the sport of volleyball. That is huge considering the sport was invented in an old dusty YMCA. Volleyball has become a sport that many Americans love to play or love to watch. It has dramatically changed since the 1890s, and more people are becoming exposed to the fun game. Many organizations all over the world are being invented to rapidly spread the game and to associate themselves with many other countries through one game, which is volleyball. I encourage you to play the game of volleyball and see how much you enjoy it. Even if you don't want to play it competitively, it is still so much fun. Also, if you love it, spread the word and share your passion and love. You'll realize how many great relationships and friendships you can get just by playing a sport with someone who has the same passion and love. Play and love the game. You will never know how much you will love it if you don't try and see how much it will affect you in the future.